What's up, guys? I wanted to make a video sooner in this E11 build process, but unfortunately I didn't, and I got a bunch of work done. So I can't really show you guys a 100% from start to finish, but I'm going to try and kind of give updates along the way from here on out as to how I am restoring this decommissioned Sterling L2A3 submachine gun to a E11 Stormtrooper Blaster prop. There's a ton of legal stuff regarding kind of reassembling in a prop, I guess, form for decommissioned machine guns. I'm not going to talk too much about it right now because there's a lot of it to get into, but if there's enough requests, if enough people see this and are like, oh man, I really want to do a very similar thing, let me know and I'll make a video explaining at least my experiences with going through researching the legalities and emailing the ATF and things like that. So anyway, if you want to see a video like that, leave a comment because that could go on for a long time. So anyway, I bought this as a kit. You can kind of see it. I haven't finished, doing the final sanding. In order for them to import these, they have to be cut into, I believe the magic number is 4, which is what mine was. They take a torch and they cut it right here. They cut it right here. They cut it, I think, that way, and then they cut it again right there in the back. And you can kind of see the seams. The hardest thing was that they cut it right through that piece too. So getting that attached was really difficult. But I managed to weld it with my basic welding skills of my old vintage MIG welder. Got it welded together, ground down, and now I'm just working on kind of the Bondo and finishing it off. And you can kind of see some of the other parts laid out. The barrel was also cut into 3 sections. It's been welded with an obstruction in it. It's non-functioning at this point. Obviously, you can tell it's welded and bondoed together. You can't fire a bullet out of it, but even if I hadn't welded an obstruction in it, there's no way you would ever want to fire it. So there's no way you would want to buy one of these kits to reassemble as is in order to actually make it function. Just like the bolt comes with no firing pin and it's welded shut. But for an E11 prop, it's the perfect kit because they're very, very affordable. They're in the price range you would pay for like a Denix replica. Not that they make one of this, but you're getting the real thing, which is very, very cool. Yeah, I got it. It was all cut up. I used the bolt. I actually ran the bolt through before I did some other modifications and used that to kind of assemble the pieces to line them up. It's not perfect, but it worked. I've heard a really good trick is to actually get a copper tube. I believe when I measured the inner diameter, it was a 1 3/8 inch. So if you found a copper pipe with that outer diameter, you could actually run the pipe down the whole thing and kind of use that to line stuff up as you weld it. I didn't do that, but here it is, kind of where I'm at right now. Like I said, it's just, you can kind of see here that my camera will focus. There, you can see right there really well. You can just see a little bit of the Bondo kind of raised up. So I'm just gonna hit that with some high grit. That's why I painted it, because it's easier to see once it's all one uniform color. But I'm gonna just sand that down as best I can because I don't expect it to be 100% perfect. But I'm gonna do my best to get it all looking like it's one uniform tube. And then once it's all kind of done at that point, I've got some stuff already done as far as meeting the ATF's requirements for it not being a machine gun. There's a few other things that I'm gonna do. I don't wanna talk too much about it, but like for example, this is the trigger assembly. What I did is I actually removed I believe it's referred to as the disconnector. I left the trigger spring intact. I don't know why this isn't focusing. I left the trigger spring intact, so it still feels like a trigger, and the selector switch still clicks. There's a little leaf spring type thing in there that retains that and lets that click. But I might also weld a plate along the top of this just so that it can never be made as a functioning trigger again, and then also welding this into the actual gun itself when it's all done will ensure, you know, one more step that the gun will never be made to fire. So maybe that's overkill, but I'm gonna do it anyway because it's not the kind of thing you want to play around with. But anyway, it's super cool holding this thing. I mean, it just feels so, you know, awesome. It feels like what, you know, the props should feel like. Not expensive. It's really not that hard to do. If you have any welding experience at all, I would absolutely recommend this. In my opinion, it's easier than my original plan, which was these components here are all brazed on. And for those of you unfamiliar with brazing, think about it like soldering at a really, really high temperature as an alternative to welding, I guess, to put it simply. So the original parts were brazed on, and so you can take a torch and you can actually heat it up and melt the brazing and take the parts off. But I've never done that before, and I didn't want to work parts. And like I said, originally my plan was to make a whole new tube out of aluminum or something and then reattach those parts. But I ended up, it was easier than I thought it was going to be to re-weld this together. It's just not going to be 100% perfect, which is fine because it's a prop. I don't think people are going to notice it once it's got the scope and the rail and all that on it. A lot of that stuff's going to be easy to look past. But I mean, the scope, or the stock, you know, totally works, folds out. I don't believe they ever do that on screen, but you know, it's fully functional. Not that some of the resin and 3D printed and other models aren't, but in my opinion, what you'll spend on, you know, a rubber or resin or 3D printed E11, if you have any welding abilities at all, or you have a friend that welds, I think that this can be done a lot cheaper. And the end product is you have the closest to the real thing you're really gonna get. So that's just my opinion. This video went a little longer than I hoped it would, but I just wanted to kind of show off where I'm at right now, and then hopefully I'll be giving updates as parts come in. I've got a magazine. It's a plastic replica magazine that's already shortened, that because it's plastic, I think will be perfect to put like a blaster core and all the components inside of that. So I think it'll give a really clean sound install if I go that route. If not, it's just gonna cut weight and it's gonna look cool. I've got my T-tracks coming for the front. I'm gonna make the scope mount. Still trying to decide which route I wanna go for the scope. There's a million options depending on how much money I wanna spend. Still debating if I wanna do, there's like an industrial counter that sat up under the scope mount and sat right there on some of the props. And then there was also I don't know what you would even call it, like a set. It almost looks like CO2 cans and some resistors. It was just another little greebly thing that kind of sat on top of the magazine well. So there's a few kind of greeblies I might do, but they also, a lot of the ones on screen just had the T-tracks on the front. Actually, I can show you. I've got my kind of my wall of inspiration. But yeah, some of them just have the scope and the T-tracks. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do it, but hopefully kind of every step of the way I'll update. That way, if anybody else wants to go this route, then I guess I'll kind of leave the building the Sterling up to the person and for them to do their research on the laws and make sure that they're doing all that, because I don't want to give sound legal advice, because it is very interpretive and very case by case, I guess, on the legality of doing this. But hopefully I can at least kind of showcase how I'm going to attach the T-tracks and make the scope bound and things like that. So anyway, hopefully that's something you guys are interested in seeing. If you are, let me know in the comments. If you want me to make a video and kind of drone on about my experience with the legality, let me know. And hopefully I'll have some cool updates on this coming soon. Thanks for watching.